Hello and welcome everyone, Lionheart here, and today I'll be showing you some Total War Warhammer pre-alpha gameplay, looking at the Dwarves. On screen right now you should be seeing a few little clips that CA have sent me, recorded from the ambush at the Thundering Falls, which is a subterranean battle, an ambush battle. I think it's actually specifically called an Interception Battle, which occurs when the Dwarves go into an underway stance. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But anyway, CA invited me up to the studio last week to take a look at this this sort of gameplay demo, and I actually got to play it. The footage is just footage that CA have sent me themselves, sort of B-roll. I've got a few screenshots as well, so I'll be cycling through all that material throughout this video while I share some thoughts and impressions after actually having played some of Total War Warhammer. Should also say, if you're itching to play Warhammer as well, the ambush at the Thundering Falls is, I believe, the battle that's going to be playable as a demo at EGX, which is a big games convention in the UK at Birmingham NEC, and is going from the 24th to the 27th of September. I'm going to be there. Obviously, Total War Warhammer is going to be there, so do let me know in the comments if you're coming along. I'm sure there's a fair few that will be going to take a look at Warhammer and get hands on and actually play it. So, obviously I said that footage is playing, screenshots are going up. I've got a screenshot coming up though that I've actually taken from one of those little video clips, which shows you the battle, the in-game battle UI. So first of all, let's have a look at those unit cards along the bottom. I really like them. Unit cards have been a kind of bone of contention within the community for the last couple of Total Wars, to be honest. Some really didn't like Rome 2's unit cards when they first came out. Some really didn't like Attila's, while the flip side was some really loved Rome 2's and some really loved Attila's. Would love to hear your thoughts on these ones for the Dwarves in that screenshot, but overall I think they look fantastic. They fit the, you know, they look like they've come out of the lore books there, of the Warhammer Fantasy Tabletop Codex. So they look pretty cool. I really like them. Yeah, they look awesome. I really like those unit icons. So you've got obviously your health bar representing the number of men, or dwarves in this case, in each unit. And then on a couple of units, the missile-based units, you have a blue bar showing ammunition. Again, very similar to what we've seen in previous titles. On the screen, obviously, we've got the information for the organ gun, showing you its specific health in its health bar there. And then all various stats from armor, base morale, speed, melee attack, melee defense, weapon damage, charge bonus, ammunition range, missile damage as well. And then any abilities that it has underneath there, number of kills, XP, men within that particular artillery piece. So, yeah, that's sort of a look at the UI there. Obviously, we've got our Thane on the main screen there, just under the start battle. You've got the balance of power along the top there, and there's a timer. You've got the mini-map at the top right. Bottom right, where it says pre-alpha gameplay, you've got this kind of shield, which looks like you've got what, a Goblin, an Orc, or some kind of creature down there. And that's actually kind of just sort of, not greyed out, but that sort of shield there is apparently, I've been told, where the winds of magic or your mana pool would normally be in battle, but obviously dwarves don't have access to that. So yeah, I thought I wanted to point that out. I also wanted to point out, and you'll hear more about this, I've got another video coming out. I had an interview with Simon Mann from Creative Assembly, and we talked about the dwarves and the various features. We talked about performance within Warhammer, the technology kind of going in behind it, and lots of other stuff. So that video should be going out later today as well, so do check that out. But a really cool feature that's been added in is that when you press and hold down spacebar, you can actually toggle the various things that are shown, and you can also have it so that specific things such as where your units are moving to can be shown all the time without you having to press spacebar. I wish I had some footage of that being shown on screen. I haven't got any of that, unfortunately, but if I can get some of that and do a specific video on that feature, I do want to show it because it adds a whole nother layer of customization to the information that can be shown on the battlefield, and I really like that. I'm a big advocate of the holding down the spacebar, seeing where units are going, being able to see all the unit paths and trails, but also having that customization of being able to take that away if you don't want to. And yeah, I wish I had a screenshot to show you of this feature, but pressing and holding down spacebar brings up a little menu on the right hand side underneath the mini-map, as it were, which lets you customize what's shown on screen, either when pressing spacebar, when not pressing spacebar, or all the time, and it was pretty cool. I really liked that. I was quite surprised to see that in there. Obviously, generals' portraits, should you say, and obviously heroes. So the Thane that we have here, Valor, Mine Ward, I believe, was his name. Obviously, next to Thorgrim Grudgebearer. They're kind of like a 3D portrait model of the actual in-game unit, so that's pretty cool. You can see Thorgrim on his throne there with the Book of Grudges. Sort of being carried by some dwarven warriors there as well. So, the ambush at the Thundering Falls details a dwarf expeditionary force led by Thorgrim Grudgebearer hastily making their way through the Underway, which is the series of underground highways that the dwarves and greenskins often use. And the situation that you come across here is that the dwarves have been pushing through this series of tunnels, this highway, this Underway, and they're met by a greenskin ambush. Now the battle demo that I got to play saw obviously myself controlling the dwarves while being attacked by the greenskins while we were travelling along the Underway in this subterranean battle. And it wasn't just kind of a normal battle. There were various bridges and other tunnels off to the side of the map where kind of waves of reinforcements came throughout the battle. And there were two modes to play, easy mode and hard mode. The only real difference between the two of them was that on hard mode the AI got more reinforcements, so more units came into the battle, and that they pressed forward a little bit earlier in the battle with their main force, and there was also a giant that came in from the rear flank and struck through my men, or my dwarves rather, if I wasn't paying attention. But to be honest, I didn't see any actual kind of improvement in difficulty of the actual AI. It wasn't a particularly difficult battle, I must say. Once I got the hang of using my slayers to take down the big monstrous creatures such as trolls and giants, that wasn't too difficult. It could have caught you unawares if you weren't paying attention to what was going on around you, and certainly I hope to see this ambush battle, these interception battles, really ramp up the difficulty. If there's constant waves of enemies coming through, you know, it looked like the dwarves were having like a last stand on a ridge on the Underway. But obviously it's pre-alpha gameplay, so I just, you know, I hope the AI will only get more competent and more difficult as we go along. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't too difficult. It wasn't for me a repeat of the Siege of Londinium, which I had at EGX last year, where I actually got beaten twice before I finally managed to pull off a victory. I actually managed to win every time with this demo, but I think more so with this battle demo, it was more to actually let the various people that attended the event to kind of take a look at Warhammer or Total Warhammer for the first time, then actually throw them in at the deep end to a rather difficult battle. But it definitely had potential, and I'll be keen to see whatever kind of battle I can get stuck into next. I believe as well that the code that we played wasn't kind of the final EGX code, so maybe it'll get more harder by EGX. So I'll look forward to seeing what I can get out of it at EGX, and I'll certainly let you guys know if it was more difficult then. For the dwarves as well, throughout the battle you do get a reinforcement midway into the battle, which is 2 units of gyrocopters. There were 4 gyrocopters per unit, and they actually had a pretty cool ability on them. They could drop 2 bombs, as well as fire kind of like a scattershot cannon from the front of the gyrocopters, which was really good at tearing apart some of the missile Goblin troops. that the greenskins had fielded. But yes, the gyrocopters had these bombs that you had the ability button right over the portrait of the gyrocopters, and you had just the number 2 next to it, so essentially that was your ammunition for it, or your use for that ability, and allowed you to drop bombs directly below, so the little triangle that shows where the kind of unit is standing, down below the gyrocopter, that is exactly where the bombs went. And I actually managed to, there was an Arachnarok on the greenskin side, and I was able to bring it down by in the end by dropping a couple of bombs on it. I had weakened it pretty heavily by this point, but I finished it off with a couple of bombs, and it did look pretty cool. The animations across the board looked really nice, especially when like the Slayers were hacking away at the giant. They were like launching themselves into him with their dual axes, swinging and firing, and well, swinging and slicing with axes and chopping. Artillery also played a huge part in this battle. The Dwarves had 2 units of organ guns, they had a flame cannon, and they had 2 units of Iron Drakes, which are heavily armoured Dwarven warriors with Drake gun flamethrowers. And you should be able to see some of that in the footage as well. And yeah, there's just these huge flamethrowers launching this fire. And burning all the greenskin sort of lightly armoured forces, as well as the organ guns. And again, you could press insert and go into first person mode, so you could shoot the crap out of forces coming towards you. That's how most of the time I took down the Arachnarok. I just manual fired right into it with the organ guns. Really satisfying with the organ guns, obviously firing off multiple shots all at once. You also had some Quarrelers with crossbows and Thunderers with black powder rifles. So you had a fair amount of missile troops with that. But you also had Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards, and obviously those Slayers, and 1 unit of Slayers, which really key in this battle. So kind of a bit of a heads up for if you play this demo at EGX. Don't commit your Slayers too early, especially if you're playing on hard mode. I'd almost say keep them back until you see the giant reinforcements come through from the back, because you'll want to throw your Slayers into them, because there's also trolls as well. And the first time when I was playing, I played on easy mode to start with, just so I could actually take a look at all the characters and take it all in. But I was caught quite off guard by this flanking, reinforcing greenskin force of trolls. And I had to get my dwarves turned around pretty quickly and form back up and take them down, but we managed to do it in the end. So on the greenskin side of things, saw quite a few units that we've seen before, especially from the Battle of Blackfire Pass. They were led by somebody called, I love this name, Knobnail's Backbiter, and he was a Goblin Great Shaman on a giant wolf, and I saw him casting Curse of Debadmoon, and that wrecked through some of my Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors at various points. I'm really looking forward to when I get an opportunity later on. I hope at some point in the future, maybe with another demo or what have you, to actually play as a faction that has access to magic and see how it plays out myself. Because so far the AI, I've got to admit, the AI seemed pretty competent at being able to target my weaker units. For the various times I replayed the Ambush at the Thundering Falls, quite often the Goblin Shaman would use or attempt to use Curse of Debadmoon on my organ guns, but apparently it has like I guess to simulate the dice roll, as it were, of where the curse actually lands. Sometimes it actually missed its target, so it could actually turn on the greenskins itself, and a bit of friendly fire there, and it's kind of a risky sort of a choice to use that spell at some point. But yeah, it wrecked through some of my organ guns, so the AI certainly knew to target my cannons, because they were doing a heck ton of damage to the greenskins throughout the battles I played. But yeah, it definitely knew to engage with and try and take out my missile troops and my artillery first, before trying to then pin down my infantry. There were Doom Divers there. I didn't really see too much from them. I actually thought they would cause me a little bit more grief than they did. There were Forest Goblin Spider Riders, and they were annoying because they very fast, and they were trying to get up the little slope that I was defending on, the little mound that we had in the underway as the dwarves, and they were trying to break through my ranks or try and flank round me and take out my organ guns. Again, most times the AI certainly knew the value of those organ guns for me, and it did focus on them. Their Goblin Archers tried focusing on my missile troops, my Quarrelers, and obviously my Thunderers. But I mean, they were a bit more superior there, and I was able to charge on through and break them down. But also, I didn't have any cavalry, and I pretty canon within dwarves, within most fantasy games and histories and different laws, that they don't have access to any kind of cavalry. So obviously we're very slow moving. So again, that's the kind of another thing you'll encounter if you play the demo at EGX. But you can't move your dwarves about very quickly. The Slayers get a nice little kind of run and charge sort of thing going on when they're close by. But you know, if you need to redeploy quickly, you are going to potentially suffer if you haven't got units in the right place, because the dwarves will take a little bit of time getting there because they're so heavily armoured. Obviously, there were Orc Boar Boy Biggins, and there were Trolls, and obviously if you play on the hard mode, a Giant comes in as well and had its area of effect strike going on through. But I think that pretty much highlights the key units, the various kind of battle modes that I encountered at the ambush of the Thundering Falls at CA's studios when I went up the other week. I just want to talk about one or two of the other features that were discussed that the dwarves have access to, and that kind of gameplay features for them. And some of these are kind of ones that you'll encounter on the campaign map. I did ask a little bit about the campaign map in my interview. Again, hopefully you can find that linked in the description when it's out, but it'll be out after this video a couple of hours later with Simon Mann. He was able to tell me one or two things, so kind of stay tuned for that one for a bit more about the campaign map and some features there. But there were some other features, such as the Grudge Bearers feature, which is that if the dwarves are slighted at all in diplomacy, such as having a treaty broken with them, a grudge will be recorded in the Damaz Kron, or the Great Book of Grudges, and the grudge will need to be settled according to specific stated conditions. So this is what I had hoped in my previous dwarf video that I did, my impressions video and my analysis and sort of features that I hoped we'd see, was that you can directly interact with grudges, and you actually, through playing as the dwarves on the campaign, you will create and attempt to resolve grudges as victory conditions. So the example is that you may have to extract a certain amount of gold from a begrudged opponent, maybe through raiding or diplomacy, or you might have to defeat them and gain a victory in battle. Apparently there'll be a number of grudges already existing in the Great Book of Grudges when you start a dwarf campaign, so that will give you the first few to kind of pursue. That will give you your starting objectives, but more may be added over time as you interact with other factions. Kind of as you go across the campaign map, more will be generated, and apparently one of the dwarven victory conditions is to settle all the grudges in the Great Book. So I'm really excited by that, because that's a feature that I had hoped, or I proposed would be a good idea for a feature, following on from my previous dwarven impressions video for Total Warhammer. So I'm really excited that I nearly got that one spot on, pretty much. So yeah, I'm excited to see how one will contend with trying to settle all the grudges. So underway stance, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but underway stance is it going to be a specific stance for your armies for the dwarves? I don't know. I assume obviously there'll be something for the greenskins, because obviously they end up ambushing you and intercepting you at the Thundering Falls. So I assume maybe it might be called Underway Stance for everyone, or maybe the Greenskins will have their own version or something like that. But the Dwarfs have a stance called Underway, and this enables subterranean travel, allowing an army to move beneath impassable terrain and zones of control surrounding cities and armies. Also, specific Dwarven units, such as miners, will get combat bonuses for fighting subterranean battles. So, you may get, I don't know, maybe you'll get, like, elite mining guard or something like that. So, they'll be, like, your elite subterranean unit. So they'll really flourish on subterranean battlefields, which is cool. When you in the turn that an army enters or exits the tunneling stance, the underway stance. So maybe that's the name for Greenskins, a tunneling stance, perhaps. But with the turn that you exit that stance, you have the potential to be intercepted by an opposing army, which will kick off something called an Interception Battle, and that's what Ambush at the Thundering Falls is an example of. You're in this great ancient dwarven underway, there's this highway, this huge tunnel system, and you're getting ambushed by the Greenskins that obviously either you've just entered the underway stance with the dwarves, with Thorgrim, or you're just about to exit it, and yeah, you've been attacked by some Greenskins. I really liked the way that you had waves of reinforcements of the enemy coming in. It made the battlefield a lot grander, a lot bigger. I wonder how exactly those reinforcements will be pooled. Like, will those reinforcements, will your army, your ambushing army, as it were, be split into various waves, or will random units be generated? If you manage to launch an ambush, is it kind of like you've been able to send word to other armies nearby that they can come and attack, or will you need to have an army reinforcing that will come in as reinforcements? And I wonder if perhaps you can specifically dictate which units will come in which wave if you're launching an ambush on some dwarves or what have you. So I'd like to find out more about that and then see precisely how that works as actual campaign map gameplay. But so yeah, keeping all the campaign map stuff very tight-lipped at the moment, so just get little tidbits for now and then, but hopefully we can actually see the campaign map in action at some point in the future. Dwarven cities or Carracks are situated beneath the mountains, and sieges against Carracks will always occur in underground city maps. So if you aren't going and using the underway stance, there is another way to kind of encounter this underway, this subterranean battlefield, and that is with sieges against dwarven cities and Carracks. Just a quick note on the kind of dwarven combat style, but they have some of the best artillery and ranged units in the game. The Ambush at the Thundering Falls battle I got to play highlighted, some of those units. Certainly the flame cannon, the organ gun, the Thunderers, and the Iron Drakes, I believe. That's what they were called, right? Yes, Iron Drakes. Got it right. Boom. But they move slower, as I mentioned before, than other races due to their short stature. And as mentioned, it's pretty canon that dwarves have no cavalry units, so they'll be slow, but they're heavily armoured. They have pretty steady morale, very powerful melee units, the strongest armour that you can get. So you can just hold the line, hold the defensive positions, and just try and keep your guns firing. So I would say that in the battle, and again, if you're playing this at EGX, do see about, I would say, try out, because I tried this myself, whether I could just sit back, hold the line, and shoot the Greenskins to oblivion, which you can do. I was able to do that quite happily. But it'd be quite interesting to see how you'd actually find going on the offense and going on the attack with the dwarves. I know that's not their natural kind of play style. It probably is sit back, hold the line, and see where you go. But yeah, you certainly, especially with you have a lot of high melee damage and melee attack and weapon damage in quite a few of your units, so you do have that option to be offensive if you want to, but I think it's choosing the right moment, specifically because you're quite slow as dwarves. Anyway, that's pretty much all the information that I've got to go through. If you have any questions about it, then I will try and go through the information that I've been provided and be able to try and answer any questions that you guys may have. But I would say definitely check out the interview that I have with Mann from Creative Assembly, because we talk about a lot of other features. Obviously, we talk about the ambush at the Thundering Falls, but we talk about some of the wider features of the game. You know, performance, what can we expect with CA, kind of optimizing that, AI development, and things like that. So, yes, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed me letting you guys know about the ambush at Thundering Falls. Ultimately, I enjoyed it. I would have preferred it if the AI had been more challenging, more difficult. There were certainly a lot of units to go up against, and it was, I think at this stage, more about finding out which Dwarven units worked best in which situation against which different troop type that was coming against you. And obviously, for the first time playing a demo of Total War Warhammer. But I wouldn't have minded the AI being, you know, more aggressive, and just kind of hitting me a bit harder. But maybe that's just the power of the Dwarves being able to stand and hold that line there. But I wouldn't have minded, you know, feeling a little bit more under pressure by the AI. But it certainly wasn't incompetent. It was able to try and pick off some of my weaker units, my exposed cannons, and a couple of the battles I played, I lost my organ guns. So yeah, it did well, and especially when the Arachnarok comes crashing on through, that really attempts to break apart your line. So yeah, I was happy with what I saw. Would like to see more, and definitely see that AI, you know, really gunning for it. Obviously, and I'm sure a lot of you have picked up by looking at the various little video clips that CA provided me, the tracers for missile units don't look that great. I'm hoping those will be toned down, or you'll have the option to turn them off. But again, it's pre-alpha, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt with those. Just way too much kind of white tracer following most of the missile units there. Hopefully it can get tweaked and turned down, as I guess they continue to add in, you know, added textures and visual effects throughout the game's development. But it ran well. I don't know the specs specifically of the PCs that we were using, and there wasn't a way of checking any of the graphical settings, but it looked really nice. It seemed to run really smoothly. I didn't, you know, notice that much, you know, much lag. I could see when the FPS probably got a little bit lower, but even in big clashes, it didn't seem too bad. But definitely when I can get kind of more stuck in and hands-on with a build of Total War Warhammer, hopefully at a later point, then I'll definitely be taking a look at the various graphic options and trying to work out how Warhammer shapes up in terms of performance. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I want to see more. I want to play more, so that I can really, you know, give you guys a more informed opinion and analysis about Total War Warhammer and how it's shaping up. But hopefully I've scratched the surface with this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed some little clips of the gameplay, and obviously more screenshots and, you know, other wallpaper designs and concept art and things like that. But until next time, don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Take pride in joining the Legion. Check out my affiliates and sponsors, XMG, Greenman Gaming and GT Omega Racing. Until next time, ciao for now.
One wrong put right, but the great book of grudges remains full.